July 9, 2006, the World Cup final. One of the greatest players in football history walked off the pitch in the final match of his career, not with a trophy, but with a red card. This is the real story of Zidane's headbutt. Good morning, guys, and welcome to Flop Files, where today we are diving deep into exactly what happened on that fateful night.
Picture this: Zinedine Zidane, the absolute maestro of French football, marching down the tunnel. His head is bowed, and he's walking right past the glittering golden World Cup trophy. I mean, it perfectly captures the sheer shock of this moment, right? It's an image permanently burned into the minds of literally billions of fans worldwide. This was supposed to be a fairy tale ending. Instead, it became the most notorious exit in the history of sports. But to really understand why this happened, we have to look at the immense pressure boiling over on the pitch.
Going into this match, the context is absolutely fascinating. France felt completely invincible. According to French defender William Gallas, who was out there on the pitch that day, the team was incredibly strong and just bursting with confidence. They honestly believed they were destined to lift that trophy. And Zidane? He was totally dominating the tournament in what everyone knew was his swan song. So, fast forward to extra time. The score is locked in an incredibly tense 1-1 against a resilient Italian side. The stakes literally could not be higher.
Now, the tension on the other side of the ball was just as fierce. Just moments before the infamous incident, Zidane nearly won the game with this spectacular header. Italian goalkeeper Gianluigi Buffon made an absolute miracle save. But Italian defender Marco Materazzi, he was feeling the heat. His own teammate, the fiery Gennaro Gattuso, literally wanted to kill him for losing Zidane in the box. So Materazzi was under a tremendous amount of pressure. He knew for a fact he couldn't let Zidane out of his sight again. The stage was totally set for a collision.
This entire career-ending sequence happened in a matter of seconds, and completely off the ball. At 110 minutes, the play is moved to the other side of the pitch. Zidane and Materazzi are jogging back, exchanging words. Zidane briefly walks away, but then, at 110 minutes and 20 seconds, he suddenly turns back, rushes towards Materazzi, and just 2 seconds later delivers a vicious, square headbutt straight into the Italian's chest. Materazzi just drops to the floor. It happened so fast and so far away from the actual ball that almost nobody in the stadium even realized what had just occurred.
So the really crucial point here is this incredible number, 1. Out of the hundreds of professional sports photographers lining the pitch at the biggest sporting event on the planet, only a single photographer actually captured the moment of impact. Just one. Every other lens was tracking the ball on the opposite side of the field. So how did this lone photographer manage to get the shot of a lifetime?
Well, the answer lies in a highly unusual assignment given to AFP photographer John McDougall by his editors that day. His strict brief was literally, shoot whatever you want, except follow the ball. Because of this, McDougall noticed Materazzi aggressively marking Zidane and decided to keep his lens locked on the two of them, even when the play moved away. He actually thought he might have pressed the shutter too late, but he managed to capture a single frame of the exact milliseconds after the headbutt, just as Materazzi was falling. And just like that, it became the defining photo of the decade.
But capturing the image didn't answer the question that paralyzed the globe. What was actually said to trigger such an explosive reaction from a player known for his calm, calculated brilliance? I mean, this became the ultimate mystery. The match ended, Italy won, but all anyone could talk about were the words exchanged.
The media went absolutely crazy trying to solve it. Newspapers actually hired forensic lip readers to study the grainy video footage, leading to some pretty wild theories. UK media claimed Materazzi called Zidane the son of a terrorist whore, while Brazilian TV claimed he used a slur about his sister, calling her a prostitute. Meanwhile, Materazzi vehemently denied all of this. He stated he didn't even know what the word terrorist meant, pointing out that he would never insult a mother, having lost his own at a young age. The rumors were just spiraling completely out of control. By the way, if you're enjoying this documentary, subscribe to Flop Files and share this video with a football fan. We uncover the stories behind football's greatest triumphs and heartbreaks. All right, back to the mystery.
Finally, years later, the truth was actually revealed. Materazzi admitted to an Italian TV network exactly how the trash talk unfolded. So after Zidane's jersey was pulled in the box, Zidane sarcastically offered to give Materazzi his shirt after the game. And Materazzi's response? No, I'd prefer your sister. It was a crude and fairly standard piece of on-pitch trash talk, just meant to get under the opponent's skin.
But that standard piece of trash talk hit Zidane at exactly the wrong moment. Zidane later explained, he provoked me by talking about my sister Leila. At that time, I was more fragile. He totally acknowledged that while he isn't proud of the violent reaction, the insult struck a really raw nerve on a night of incomprehensible pressure and emotion. It was basically the perfect storm of exhaustion, provocation, and human fragility.
Which brings us to another massive mystery. As we established, the play was on the whole other side of the pitch. The main referee, Horacio Elizondo, didn't see the headbutt. The assistant referees on the sidelines, they didn't see it either. So how on earth did Zidane get caught and sent off?
The answer is actually hidden in the referee's headset. The fourth official, Luis Medina Cantalejo, who was standing all the way over on the sidelines, just happened to catch the incident. Over the radio, he frantically called out to the main referee, Horacio, I saw it! A really violent headbutt by Zidane and Materazzi, right in the chest. That invisible voice echoing in the referee's ear was the unseen force that abruptly ended Zinedine Zidane's legendary career.
In the immediate aftermath, while the world watched Zidane walk down the tunnel, his teammates were left to fight through extra time, a man down. When France ultimately lost the penalty shootout, William Gallas recounts walking into this incredibly somber, silent dressing room. He found a defeated Zidane, just sitting there, simply telling his teammates he's sorry about what he did. Gallas noted that he couldn't even bring himself to blame Zidane. The team was simply left completely shell-shocked.
And the immediate, terrifying cost of that red card came down to the number 5. You see, Zidane was France's #1 penalty taker. So without him on the pitch, the entire penalty order had to be shuffled. Coach Raymond Domenech had to ask players who didn't even want to shoot to step up. William Gallas, a defender, was forced to be the 5th penalty taker. He later admitted he was absolutely terrified, looking at the goal and thinking about the unbearable weight of losing the World Cup if he missed. That is the unseen ripple effect of the red card.
Now, the global fallout was incredibly skewed. Italy achieved the absolute pinnacle of football, winning the 2006 World Cup. I mean, it was an incredible athletic achievement for players like Buffon, Cannavaro, and Materazzi, but in the media landscape, Zidane's red card completely hijacked the narrative. The mystery of the headbutt totally overshadowed Italy's triumph worldwide. Instead of celebrating the victors, front pages across the globe were plastered with a story of violence and vengeance.
Inside France, the reaction was this complex mix of anger and sympathy. French head coach Raymond Domenech, publishing his book 8 years later, showed some palpable bitterness. He stated that Zidane sacrificed the team's chances for the benefit of his pride. Domenech even compared it unfavorably to Thierry Henry's infamous handball a few years later, basically saying Henry sacrificed his image for the team, whereas Zidane put his own ego above the nation's World Cup dreams.
But then, contrasting Domenech's anger with reaction from the French president at the time, Jacques Chirac. Chirac perfectly encapsulated the deeply divided national soul. He condemned the act for sure, saying his gesture was not acceptable. Yet, in the exact same breath, he defended Zidane the man, adding, "For a man like Zidane, a man balanced in all respects, to have this type of reaction, there had to be something." The French public really struggled to reconcile their beloved hero with this sudden act of madness.
So the craziest part is how this moment morphed into modern mythology. Look at this number, 5 meters. Fast forward to 2012, and the legacy of the split-second loss of temper was immortalized in a massive, towering 5-meter-tall bronze statue. The act of violence was literally frozen in time, cast in bronze, and placed right in front of the famous Pompidou Center in Paris. The artist behind it, Adel Abdessemed, titled the exhibition as an ode to defeat. The exhibition organizer noted that this monument deliberately goes against the ancient tradition of making statues to honor sporting victories. Instead, it forces us to confront human frailty, failure, and the spectacular collapse of a hero on the grandest stage possible.
But you know what? Even the statue couldn't escape controversy. After being unveiled in Paris in 2012, it was purchased and moved to the Corniche in Doha, Qatar in 2013. However, within just a few weeks, it had to be abruptly removed. There was a massive conservative backlash, with locals complaining that a giant bronze statue glorifying an infamous act of sports violence was setting a terrible example for the youth and borderline idolatry. The headbutt was still causing shockwaves years and years later.
Which leaves us with a really profound question. Does one moment of provoked rage redefine the legendary career, or does it simply prove the humanity of our heroes? It's a debate that fans still argue passionately about today. Zidane's career ended not with a trophy lift, but with a walk of shame past the World Cup itself. Almost 2 decades later, it's still one of football's most talked about mysteries. Thanks for watching Flop File.